Welcome back to the shop, except for we're not at all at the shop. We are on the side of the road with all of this being a giant mess. Oh, God. I'll tell you about it in a minute. Okay, so you might notice that we're sitting in the van right now. The goal today for this video was to do a not so average day in the life, but a familiar day in the life. I've got a bunch of stuff to do. I've got a bunch of moving around that I will show you on the way to the first place, which is 4.5 hours away. The van stopped driving. Started surging, doing some really strange things. Stopped at a stoplight, wouldn't go at all. Slammed into gear and moved just enough to get me into a parking lot. Stopped moving entirely. Turns out a transmission line had popped off the line, the trans cooler, the aftermarket trans cooler. Dumped all the fluid out. I think the van is probably fine. I think the transmission is okay, but there are some things I want to do to button up so that this never happens again. I absolutely hate this. There's some stuff I want to do to button some things up, and I don't have time to do it right now. Luckily, I have another vehicle, so we're limping this thing whole. I'm going to switch to the truck, and we're going to start this whole trip over again. Welcome to day number 2 of our adventure. Day number 1 didn't go so well, obviously. I'm about half a day behind where I really wanted to be, but in any case, we're here. Winch is in place, the battery's in place. That means stuff's about to happen. Now, something pretty cool. This building here behind me was built in, my dad and a bunch of friends built it in between 99 and 2001, depending on which writing on the picture you believe. It never got finished. There's a whole trench, all that right there had to be filled in and never was. There's no electricity run, none of that stuff. This building is sat like that in use, but like that forever since it was built. And here now we have a personnel door. There's some cool stuff inside I'm going to show you, but it's really exciting because I grew up with this building not really being super usable, but now it is. We've been working on it. My brother and I have been working on this thing, and boy, there's some really exciting stuff in here. One thing we've never been able to do is walk through a personnel door. It's incredible. We would have to open the garage door and it didn't open very well. It was a huge pain. But hit a switch right here and the lights come on in the building. Incredible. Absolutely unbelievable. We used to have like the bus stayed in here. For those of you who remember, the bus would go along this wall, and we used to have like poles. Oh, they're right here. Look. These things were all that we had for lights. And there were like 2 or 3 of them. It's dimly lit. You got to find them and plug them in. It was a whole damn thing. But we got electricity run. We've got building power going, and probably one of the coolest things, one of the most convenient things, is go up here and oh, the door just opens. It's incredible. It's incredible. So the point of this building, and part of why we're here today, is it is staging. We got shelves going up over here. Obviously, there's stuff in here already. There's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things, and some stuff that we want to sell, stuff we want to keep. A lot of that stuff's being transferred into this building where we can see it, sort through it, figure out what we're going to do, and eventually there's going to be a huge just parts, car parts, and crap yard sale that you guys might be interested in. But that's what we're doing for today. We're here for this fella. Now this Goldwing, if you see that burgundy bike in the background there, now this Goldwing, if you see that burgundy bike in the background back there, that was a bike that my dad bought. It is a version of a motorcycle that my grandpa owned. It was like a 76, I think, 76, 77 Goldwing that my grandpa had in black, I think, maybe. In any case, my dad and my uncle both decided that they wanted to do some, bike touring, whole family rides motorcycles, and they wanted early Goldwings, and so that's what they got. Now they decided they would buy the same type of motorcycle so that they could share parts and knowledge and whatnot. And of course, like any good collector, you have to have a parts bike, and so that's what this is a Goldwing parts bike. Neither my brother or I nor have an interest in that bike. That'll go up on the chopping block soon. But my uncle wants this bike. It is black. His is this other same color, and he wants it to be a black bike, I think like my grandpa's was. So what I have to do now is figure out how to control the winch, which is over there, while holding the bike up, which is over here. I don't know if you've ever tried to push a heavy motorcycle with flat tires. It's not easy. It's not very easy at all. Well, I guess that's as far as that can really go. Huh. That's not the goal. Let me figure out how to get past this part. So, that was a little bit of a struggle. And by the time I had it figured out, I needed all my hands. So I couldn't really come back over and hit record because I had the bike bouncing. Anyway, so, like I said, this was a parts bike, and we're getting it out of here so that it can be used. Careful now. This bike is heavy, man. Now this is a mission. This is a full-on mission because we got a couple things that we're doing with a few different purposes. You might have noticed that there's a lot of stuff around here. There's just junk everywhere. Oh, can I not do this by myself? Well, it's gonna be a huge bummer if I can't do this by myself. Well, now I'm wondering if this bike is even gonna fit sideways across the front of the trailer. That's an interesting thought. Huh. Somewhere around in here, you kind of just have to get creative, I think. Use the tools at hand to get the job done. In this case, the job is rotate this bike. Can we drag? Let's drag. Yeah, baby. Let's drag. Doing crap like this alone is a bummer, let me tell you, but it does get the mind working. And in this case, the body too. Now, this is something like a 500-pound motorcycle. A little more, depending on how you round. Huh. Okay, that right there, oh, I get this thing right. That right there is a loaded motorcycle. Please turn, come on. I use a new technology and I don't really know how to use it yet. That right there is a loaded motorcycle. I'm gonna finish tying this thing down and we're gonna go to part 2 of day 2, trying to get this adventuring. Okay, bikes in the trailer. We are now out at what is becoming the ultimate collection. There's a lot of really good stuff out here. Some of this is gonna go away, and today, right now, the next piece is this little fella. This little fella, this is a great truck. I gotta get air in the tires, I gotta get it off the little things, but I'll tell you about it. Sorry for the handlebar front and center there, but it's the way we goes. So this truck was special. There's a story about how it got here, and this truck was special. We never put a battery in the thing. We would put gas in it occasionally. We never changed the oil, though we did. We would check fluids and stuff, but mostly we never put a battery in the thing, and it started over and over for years and years after sitting for long periods of time. That's the key. Batteries don't sit well, they go dead. And for some reason, this one just never went dead. For years and years and years, well outside of 5 or 6 years, it just never had a battery. It just ran every single time. And so, because of that, it was quite special. It was quite special to me because I loved it. I thought it was super cool. Pop it in 4-wheel drive, you can go anywhere. You can do whatever. It was cool. One day, I went to get in it, and it wouldn't start. Battery was dead. And I thought, dang, man. Well, you know what? That's fine. We'll figure that out. I'll put a battery in it. It's okay. It's been this way for a long time. I tried a battery, still no power. Uh-oh. This thing had been living under the guise that if it ever actually needed real work, we're not going to do it. There's basically no floor pans in the rear. Frame is in okay shape, but you can see the hood is rusted through, the rockers are gone, most of the quarter panels are gone. There's just nothing left of this truck. So if it needed real work, it just wasn't gonna happen because it's not worth it. But a battery I'll do. I will do a battery because I'd grown to love the thing. Well, when I put a battery in it, there was still no power, nothing was working. This is when I learned that this had been a problem previously with this truck. I mean, we use this thing to pull cars out of the woods. I mean, it's just a dynamo. It would just go. And so this is where I learned that it had some other problems. We did eventually get it to run, hammering on stuff. Turns out the battery cables are corroded like crazy. So we did eventually get it to run. And that's where we found out that it wasn't charging. And I thought, that's fine. That's great. I'll order an alternator for it. Well, when the alternator eventually came, truck wouldn't start again, and it took, basically, it never started again. That was the last time. I brought it up here, and I thought, well, maybe the alternator is bad and causing a misconnection. I don't know. Turns out not to be the case. So I brought it up here and put it up on these blocks so that I could do the alternator. And I did the alternator, and it didn't work. The truck never ran again. At that point, I started really thinking about how rusty it is, how rough the truck is, and it's not even really going to serve the purpose that I want ultimately, because we don't have a title. Can't put it on the road. So I started really thinking about that and went, you know what? Maybe it's time that I just forget about this thing and figure out what to do with it down the road. Well, guess what? We're down the road now. I do think that this motor is still a great engine. It's going to run fine. Transfer case is good. There's a lot of really good parts here. It just can't stay in this truck because the truck is useless. So welcome to now. What are we doing now? Well, my uncle has one with a titled body. We can drive it on the street. The body's in great shape. My grandpa redid the whole interior, so it's got a brand new interior in it. But it's got a blown motor. And what we found after the motor blew was that somebody had welded the front pulley to the crank. So the engine is absolutely ruined. We're gonna take this engine, put it in that truck, and eventually, not anytime soon, but eventually this engine will go in that truck, and we'll have a good run in early body Samurai again. Okay, we have everything loaded up. We're headed to the next spot where both of these items are going to be dropped off, and they're going to be replaced by another thing, which is going to be cool. It's really interesting. I'm hoping to sell it so quickly because I do not want it sitting in my yard, but it is neat. Let's get to the next location and keep working. We are running out of daylight and I have to be back at my desk tomorrow. Good gracious, this has been a long couple of days, but I am back home. Everything is fine. I can finally show you what we went and got. I couldn't film very much of picking this thing up. A lot of family privacy stuff going on that I didn't really want to violate any of that. But we used a Bobcat to pull it out of its hole initially, and then I snaked the truck through the yard and backed up to it and just used the winch and popped it right on the trailer. Really wasn't that big of a deal. But we can finally take a look at what we picked up. And there she is. This is a 1974 Mazda rotary pickup, REPU, Mazda REPU. They didn't make a lot of these. They didn't make them for a long, or they didn't bring them in this country for a long time. This is a really interesting truck. It does have a 13B carbureted rotary engine in it. It's a 2-rotor, 1.3 liter engine. Little known fact, Mazda put these types of engines in buses in Japan. Buses, like people moving buses had rotary engines in it. I think this truck is super cool. I think the rotary is super cool. There's one sitting in the shop right now, as you know. Horrible engine for a truck. Terrible engine for a truck. It makes no torque at all. It won't move hardly at all out of its own way until you get up in the RPMs and you can really start hauling. But this thing looks fantastic. It's such a cool truck. Let's just, you know what? Let me flip the camera around and let's just look at this thing. So the first thing is these wide fender flares. They look so cool. And look, they had to mold the gas cap in with the bedside there. It's so cool. It looks fantastic. The next thing I absolutely love is the 4 taillights. Look at that. That's so cool. That's so neat. A lot of these, all of these came with rotary power. That's a sticker on the tailgate. I think some of them might have come with that stamped in the tailgate. But man, the squared edges, oh man, these fender flares are so cool. I love how square the truck is. It looks fantastic. It just looks awesome. Actually, here's a quick thing. That's the battery door. It got damaged at some point in its life for sure, as you can tell, but that's the battery door that would flip up and that latch, it would fold down, and that's where the battery was. And it sat right there under the bed. It's so cool. I already got the doors working. The next thing I absolutely love about this truck is the grill. That grill is so sick. Rotary engine, and they got a metal emblem here with the old Mazda logo. So cool. It's so neat. A bit of rust. The front floorboards actually don't look that bad. They're pretty solid, but man, everything under the seat is pretty bad. But if I'm honest, this kind of feels like almost anything this age that's been sitting is gonna look like this. But the dash, that's a wood paneling. That's gonna clean up really nice for somebody. The dash pad obviously is cracked up, but this truck is so complete. Everything is there. Let's go to the other side. Here we go. Crank windows, really simple doors. These little flip out wing mirrors, or wing glass works. That's so cool. Works on both sides even. Steering wheel, sweet. This whole truck is it's just so neat. I've been fiddling with it here, and I have actually got most everything to work just fine. Hood opens backwards like the RX-7s, which I absolutely love, and then it holds itself up with this super simple little latch system. Engine is pretty complete. It's in there, and I absolutely love the Mazda stamped into or cast maybe into the rotor housings. That's so neat, and it's backed in the blue like that, kind of painted. I've never seen rotor housings like that. It's pretty cool. So there's no intake or carb. These ports and all the hoses and all have been taped up for all these years. The engine spins over freely, so it's not locked up. Look at this so cool old tag here. Look at that. Old Mazda logo. You don't see those Mazda logos anymore. Engine model 13B, rotary engine. So sick. So sick. Golly, this thing is so neat. What I'm finding really interesting is as I'm working through the RX-7 that's in there, and I'm just sort of looking and marveling at this truck, I'm seeing a lot of things that are just, it's the same. It's the same. This truck was made 9 years before that car was, and a lot of this stuff is the same. Namely, that water neck that, if you haven't seen the video, you should go watch, but that water neck gave me trouble. That's the exact same water neck. I went and looked at water necks on 12A cars, old other RX-7s. It's a totally different water neck. And so now I'm like, is that an REPU water neck or is it a 13B water neck? I don't know. The radiator attaches the same and looks the same as what's in the 13B in this car. It's so interesting. It's so cool. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this here. This is not a project I'm taking on. This truck is not gonna run in my hands. I don't want to mess with this thing. I want it out of here actually by March, because that's when I need to put my race car on that trailer right there and take the road to land to start my racing season. There's a lot of projects around, and I'm not interested in this one. I'm There's a difference between a project that would be cool and a project that I want to do. This project would be cool. It is not a project I want to do. So I want someone to take that thing and at least, lie to me if you want to, but at least tell me that they're going to do something with it. That's all I really want. It's a pretty complete truck, and it's cool. It's really neat, but it's not for me. It's up on the chopping block. Those are all things that I'm going to be doing for a little while now, pulling cars out and either selling them or storing them for future projects. This just happens to be the first one that we're getting into. So with that, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to lay down because I'm so tired. And I'm going to list this thing for sale. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want it or if you know somebody who does want it. It's right here in Western North Carolina. Hit me up. This could be something really, really cool for someone, just not for me. I'll see you guys in the next one.